Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into some really interesting perspectives on the future of Nigeria's northern region.
Yeah, we've got excerpts here from Nigerian political views on northern development.
Right, and our mission really is to understand what key political figures are saying about the North's potential, but also, the big challenges it faces.
It's a crucial conversation. What do they actually see on the ground, and what are the main sort of sticking points?
Exactly. So let's start with Peter Obi. He made this pretty striking comparison. Said the North has more potential than Bangladesh and the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm. That definitely catches your attention, doesn't it?
It does. What do you think he's getting at there? What makes that specific comparison so significant?
Well, it immediately flags the inherent assets he sees, maybe the huge amount of land for agriculture, or perhaps the demographic dividend, the young population.
Okay.
It's a really strong statement, sort of optimistic about what's possible, the latent capacity.
But then he immediately pivots, right? He points to major roadblocks, lack of good governance, policies not being effective, and then, crucially, poor implementation.
Yes.
When he talks about good governance in this context, what specifically might that entail for unlocking this potential you mentioned?
Well, likely the basics, the fundamental structures you need for any progress.
Mm-hmm.
Things like managing resources transparently,
Uh-huh.
a fair legal system people can trust, leadership that's actually accountable at different levels. Without that foundation, well, even the best laid plans, the best policies can just fall apart when you try to implement them.
Right. So the comparison to Bangladesh and the Netherlands then becomes about more than just potential.
Exactly. It underlines that raw potential isn't the whole story. You need those effective systems in place to actually harness it.
Okay, now let's shift gears a bit. We also have concerns from the former Justice Minister, Malami, focusing squarely on security in the North.
A very different angle, but critical.
He even pushed for a specific platform just to tackle this security issue. Coming from a former Justice Minister, how much weight does that carry?
A lot, I'd say. His emphasis on security really underscores how fundamental it is for any kind of lasting development.
Right.
It suggests the problems aren't just small, localized things. They have major implications for the rule of law, for stability across the whole region, really.
It raises that question, doesn't it? How can you possibly get economic growth or social progress when basic safety isn't guaranteed?
Precisely. And the insecurity isn't monolithic either. You've got banditry, farmer-herder conflicts, all sorts of issues disrupting lives, scaring off investment.
So it feels like Obi's focus on governance and Malami's on security, they are totally separate issues, are they? They seem deeply tangled.
Oh, absolutely. They're very likely intertwined.
How so? How might, say, weak governance actually fuel the security problems Malami's worried about?
Well, think about it. Poor governance can create power vacuums, right? Or if resources aren't shared fairly, or people lose faith in getting justice locally.
That can worsen tensions. It creates openings, opportunities for criminal groups or insurgents to gain a foothold.
I see.
So while Obi and Malami are highlighting different facets, governance versus security, they could easily be pointing to connected underlying problems that probably need a holistic approach.
Okay, and just to be really clear for you listening, we're relaying these views from Obi and Malami as presented in the source material we looked at. We're not, endorsing one view over the other. The aim here is simply to understand the points these figures are making about northern development.
Sure, exactly. Our goal is just to unpack the key insights from these influential voices, how they see the region's challenges and its opportunities.
So to wrap it up then, we've got Peter Obi, quite optimistic about the North's potential, but saying it hinges on fixing governance and making policies actually work.
Right, potential versus execution.
And then you have Malami's urgent call, tackle the serious security threats first, almost as a prerequisite for any other progress. Yeah, two distinct perspectives, but they both highlight just how complex the situation is, the interplay of all these factors shaping the North's future.
So this deep dive kind of leaves us with a final thought for you to consider. Think about how these internal views from within Nigeria itself really showcase both the high hopes for a region
The aspirations.
and the fundamental hurdles that stand in the way. What does it truly take anywhere in the world to bridge that gap between inherent potential and the often harsh realities on the ground?
Something to think about.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.